Hey, beautiful soul. Today's episode is straight from the heart. I'm joined by my dear friend and co retreat host, Leah, for a deep, inspiring conversation about how one sacred connection can open the door to the next and the next, eventually leading you to your soul aligned tribe. We talk about how we met, the synchronicities that sparked our friendship, and how travel, trust, and spirit have guided us to create La Vida Sagrada, a sacred Day of the Dead retreat for women ready to remember, reignite, and rise. So grab your cuppa because this episode is a powerful reminder that saying yes to one aligned connection can change everything.
Welcome to Sip Tea with me. I'm your host, Lisa Schoenthal. Think of me as that fun and inspirational auntie or sister you always wish you'd had. This is the space where we hang out, brew up meaningful conversations about health, wealth, relationships, and travel because life is too short not to live with purpose, passion, and abundance. If you're ready to chase your dreams, find your balance, and make a massive impact, you're at the right table. I'll be sharing real stories, life hacks, and epic wisdom to keep you mindful, energized, and connected. It's all about inspiring and empowering you. So grab your favorite cuppa as we spill the tea on how to create a life that's transformational, empowering, and authentically you, 100%. Let's drink to that and get started.
Welcome back, friends. Today's episode is extra special. I am joined by one of my soul sisters, Leah. She's a grief and loss guide. She's an author. She is an organ donation advocate. She is also a yogi and meditation teacher. Guess what the best thing is? She's the co-host of our upcoming sacred retreat, La Vida Sagrada. This is about travel. This is about spirit. There's a little bit about grief because that's where we know where to grow from. And it's a lot about joy and just saying yes to whatever lights you up. So let's get started. Welcome, Leah.
Thanks, Lise, for having me.
If you're a listener and you're listening on the podcast, Leah and I are actually videoing because we just want to see each other. So that's what's happening over here on our end. I don't know if I'm going to release the video. We'll see. We're testing that out. So I just want to mention that this episode is really sacred and special to both of us. And what we really wanted it to be was a love letter to all the women out there, to all the friendships, to all the women. We're in our 50s, and sometimes as we age, we don't have those same friendships, right? We're like trying to cultivate some new friendships, or maybe we're just in our lives or our careers or our families, and we haven't really had the time for each other. So this is a real deep, sweet love letter to all the women. We want to call you to gather, to heal, and to grow together. That's one of the reasons we created La Vida Sagrada, the sacred life. And we're going to get more into that. But first, I just want Leah to give us a little bit of a background on who she is. You guys know me, but you don't know Leah. So let's get to know her.
Thank you, Lise. Well, my journey's been a bit of a big one. I started my spiritual journey probably in 2005, but it really came to a head in 2010. I had a moment where I was incapacitated for about 6 months, and in that time, my mum took time off school to look after me. And that was such a beautiful gift. We got to spend so much time together. I got back on my feet, and then a month later, Mum died very suddenly. She was talking totally normal 1 minute. Next minute, she looked at me, slurred her words, and collapsed in my arms. And that moment was probably the worst day of my life. It was a moment that my whole world, as I knew it, fell apart. And it was a turning point. Looking back, it was the day that really catapulted my life into a very different direction than what had already been going in. I lost me that day. I lost the me that I knew. She died with Mum. It was a moment where I realized that I depended on Mum for so many things, like just the little things, and it was an opportunity for me to find me. So fast forward 6 years after that, or 5 years after that, I there's so many different facets of my business, Kindred Gift by Leah. But to put it in a nutshell, I would say the major areas that I focus on are grief, organ donation advocacy, yoga teacher, meditation, and dance. So they would be probably the most significant ones, and public speaking. But when Mum died, one of the biggest gifts that she gave me was the gift of clarity of knowing her wishes and knowing exactly what she wanted if that awful day ever came. And she was extremely passionate about organ donation. It was something that lit her up. She wanted to be an organ donor because she wanted to spare another family feeling the grief she had. When my dad passed away, he was killed in a car accident when he was 24, and she became a widow at 23 with a 2-year-old, me. So that part of it has been a massive part of my life. Christmas 2016, I received a phone call from a dear friend. His brother-in-law had just had a massive seizure, and he asked me if I knew of a book to talk to children about organ donation. And I knew the reason he was calling, and I was just shattered because I knew that it's hard enough to lose a loved one, but losing one at Christmas is just awful. And my heart just broke for this beautiful family. A few days later, I had a very challenging moment myself. And in that moment, I wrote our book, A Gift Before I Go, which is a book that talks to children and about organ donation. It's a book that parents can use if they're starting their journey as a donor family. And it's a book that can be used as a living tool if they're your wishes and you don't know how to broach the subject. And it's not dark and scary. It's about celebrating and focusing on the gift of life rather than the loss of a loved one. So that has been a massive, massive part of our journey, probably the crux of Kindred Gift by Leah, and it's led me to teach a program that helps people with grief and loss called the Grief Recovery Method. It's actually a program from the States. And I've also become a funeral celebrant to help people focus on a celebration of life rather than a dark and morbid day. So sometimes we don't understand our journey, but my journey has helped me to turn my pain into my purpose. And yeah, it's a big, big part of my life. So that's in that much of a nutshell for you.
That's the nutshell of it, because there's so much more. But first, I would love for you to give us a flash of that book cover, just in case this video goes somewhere. Terrific. There's the book.
And so the handprint that we've got on here is actually my mum's handprint. We've just shrunk it a little bit to make it more childlike. And that came from a beautiful moment that we had about 2 hours before we turned off her machine. She was in a white sterile ICU room. We had her covered in red paint. She had no idea. We were hysterically laughing. But it was very, very fitting as a tribute. My mum had been a school teacher for almost 40 years and in the same school for 38. And it felt like she was finger painting on her last day of life. It felt like she was still doing what brought her joy, but for her, education was power. Education, if we could educate someone on a topic that they didn't know or didn't understand, that was absolutely amazing. The other thing that I'm very happy about is the picture I've used behind it is of our beloved Cronulla Beach, which is where I live and where I grew up. And also, as a mum, I'm beyond grateful because my beautiful girl, Cheyenne, illustrated our book. And I'll just give you a little snippet that this is probably one of my favourite pages. Your gift of
Oh,
sight through your eyes that lit up when you saw me. And so it's all around focusing on the gifts that we have the capability to give another human being and touch the lives of a family that hopefully they don't have to go through the grief that we are experiencing.
yeah. And this is just such a beautiful tribute. I love what Leah's sharing. We're talking about generational wisdom. So it's this beautiful wisdom that her mother gave her that prepared her for this sort of heartbreak. And then it brought her daughter in and allowed her talents to be really seen and for her to express herself. And it's just one of those moments. When I met Leah, I actually really quickly, we can just kind of tie this in. the way
Yes.
Leah and I know each other is through our amazing friend Lisa, just another Lisa in the world, the name of the 1969 through early 70s. But she's like my Australian sister, and she's Leah's as well. And that's a really long story, and I probably told it in another episode. But I met Lisa like right around college, and through my brother, and he met her through travel. And he went to Australia because he met his friend Craig. We met Craig in high school. Craig's like my Australian brother, and we met them in high school because Craig's soccer team was traveling. And then my brother went back to Australia with Craig, and then he brought Lisa back to America with him. And then eventually, Lisa and I stayed great friends, and I began to make my journey to Australia. And then there was Leah. And when you meet somebody and it just feels like you've come home, like that's like your person, like one of your tribe, your soul tribe. Um, that's definitely what Leah was, and is to me. And so I'm blessed by that friendship with Leah. And it just really want to make that point that we live in small little bubbles, and a lot of times a lot of us don't even travel much. But and like I was saying, we get into our 50s and we've like had all of these other responsibilities, and there's a part of us craving the sisterhood. There's a part of us craving being with each other, having these deep conversations, creating. Like Leah and I, we planted the seeds, just like her mom planted her seeds with her to work with the organ donation. We planted the seeds. We didn't know we were doing it. We always, we knew we were both yogis. Let's just talk about some synchronicities right now. We both are
Yep.
Capricorns. We both knew we were both yogis. We still are. We both love to travel. We obviously have the mutual connection with Lisa. I mean, there's that. We both lost our dads when we were really little. That was one of the most heartfelt connections, because it was like she understands. She understands this loss of someone you love so much, but it's someone you didn't even really get to know, and how every moment that's important in your life, it feels like something's missing. So we really connected on that, but more so, we connected through that love, through that belief that we're still connected to our spirits, to our loved ones that move on. And it's too long of a story, but I'm also going to say Leah and I are very connected through organ donation. And had I not met Leah, I never would have found out that my dad was an organ donor. Just happened to be mentioning Leah and her beautiful work that she does and her advocacy. And I was saying to my mom, I wonder why I'm not as passionate about how I lost my dad. I lost my dad to suicide. And it's like, it brought us together.
To
So, anyways, had a little bit of technical difficulties. We're just going to let you guys in on that secret. But what I was saying was, it's just, you never know when you meet someone, what it's going to uncover, how it's going to help you grow. And that's why these times that we can spend together, this is why we created La Vida Sagrada, and why we have future trips planned as well, because we really believe that the way our knowing each other has allowed us to expand our beliefs and our ideas and our excitement. It's really important for women to get together. So, what I would love to do is just discuss how travel creates that kind of expansion, the connection, and the clarity. I want to know, Leah, why do you think women feel called to gather now, especially in sacred, soulful ways? What is it about this time?
I think at the moment, a lot of things are changing in people's lives. We've grown up with a paradigm that we have to operate in a certain way, be a certain person. We need to slog our lives out until we're 65 and then we can retire. And I think the biggest thing with that, or the biggest shift for me, is that my mum died at 60. She never got to enjoy her retirement per se, which was the thing that she was always striving for. So, when I set up my business, it was like, if I could set up a business doing what I loved every single day, then would I work a day of my life? It's realizing the things that we need to do to bring that joy into our life, not just when we hit this milestone, but every single day. I know that life is precious. Mum wasn't sick. She wasn't supposed to die. She just turned 60. She was healthy. She didn't smoke. She didn't drink. So all of a sudden she was ripped away. So, that always plays on my mind, that each day I get up and I find what I'm grateful for, and I start my day with sunrise yoga, and I hope to put my best foot forward. And my motto in life is, my goal is that when people meet me, they leave feeling better than when they found me. And each day, we don't know the good that we can create in our world, but when sisters come together, that goodness is magnified tenfold. Like, we want to have 10 awesome women at our beautiful La Vida Sagrada, and 12 including you and I. But what we want to do is, that shouldn't be just about the 12 women that are there. It's about touching the lives of our families, our communities, the greater good, the people that are out there globally. Like, I've had so many issues with a gift before I going global, and part of me goes, maybe the timing wasn't right. Maybe it's meant to launch now. I don't know. But sometimes it's not always to our plan, it's to a different plan. And as sisters working together, we can create that.
I completely agree with that. Like, while you're talking, I'm like, maybe it wasn't the timing. Maybe the timing's that a book publisher is on this retreat with us. Maybe they're sitting at the
That
palapa
too.
next to us. You just do not know. I mean, do you have a moment from your past travels that changed your life, or a relationship with
Yeah,
yourself or
actually, I
someone
do.
else?
I do. So when I was 24, I went to the States dancing, and so I've had an affiliation with the States as well.
Trying
And
to find me. She was trying to find me way
I
back
was.
then.
And I was in LA actually. And this day, like, I was actually one of the chaperones, and I was teaching classes, and I had a group of the younger girls in my class, like in my room with me. I was their chaperone. And we went over to Disneyland at probably 10 o'clock at night, after we'd finished with everything we'd done that day. And we got to a ride called the Matterhorn in Disneyland. And there was this really cute guy that was on the line, and he was working he had the Leatherhausen on, and yeah, it was like, and so,
I love
so
it.
we got on this line, and I said to him, "Do you know any good places to go out around here?" And he goes, "What do you mean by out?" And I went, "Nightclubs, pubs, like," and he goes, "I'll take you out." And I went, "I don't know you." And to cut a long story short, 5 months later, he arrived in Australia with an engagement ring to live with me. And it was like we met in this chance meeting. Now, it didn't eventuate to where we thought it was. He had dreams that he needed to pursue, and I thought, you need to do that. Otherwise, you'll regret it and resent me for it. So, but that was something that was awesome around travel. So you just don't know what's going to happen. I stood him up the first night, and the girls that were with me went, "That is awful. You need to go back the next night." So I did.
Oh, I think that's probably why he pursued you. He made it a little bit, hard to get.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
Sometimes
awesome.
we.
Yeah, we just don't know, right? I mean, we have so
Mm.
many stories we could tell, and that's what we can do at the retreat. If you come with us, we can all share our stories. But for right now, let's talk a little bit more about precisely why we created La Vida Sagrada, again, which is translated to the sacred life. Um, I am going to just really quick tell a little bit about my experience, because I have been to the Dia de los Muertos, the Day of the Dead, in Mexico several times. And of course, I live in California, which is just an extension of Mexico, or was originally Mexico. We even have a little celebration in our cemetery here by our house. So, Day of the Dead, we were talking about death. That a lot of times it's a really challenging subject in our cultures, right? In our westernized
Mm.
cultures. There's so many places I've traveled, like Bali as well, where death is actually celebrated. It's a sign of freedom. It's a release. It's your trip back to nirvana, your trip to the heavens, to where everything that ever pained you or that you suffered from is released. And so these other cultures celebrate it in a different way. So, Day of the Dead in Mexico, it's very colorful. The families come out and actually go to the cemetery. and they set up lunch and they repaint the tombstones. And it's this really beautiful time for families to come together, because what they believe the Dia de los Muertos is this opening to the spirit world. It's a day where our ancestors can come back and return in their spirit form to actually spend time with us. Okay, I just want to say, I believe that our ancestors do this every single day and every single minute. And Leah and I have tons of stories about synchronicities and signs, and I'm sure you do too. But this particular day is the day of this celebration. And when they do this, like I said, they go to the cemetery, they spend the day with their departed loved ones, and they play music and they eat and they sing and they paint, and they dress up and they have parades and they create these altars that are of these beautiful marigolds, and there's all kinds of ritual and divinity to it. And I feel like it's such a beautiful experience, because so often we find ourselves stuck in a level of mourning or of longing or of even regret, right? Where this is helps us to understand that the portal is there, that those loved ones are there, that we have some kind of connection. This is why I'm so drawn to it, why I love it so much. Of course, I love the idea of having my dad and my grandmothers and my grandpas around me as spirit guides. We definitely want to answer at some point. If you have questions, if you're thinking about this sounds really neat, I want to come with them. If you have questions about any of this, please let us know. If there's any hesitation or something seems a little odd or off to you, just let us know. We're happy to talk more about it. Leah, we've been talking about this forever, and we actually were in Byron Bay together. I was traveling and got the chance to come up and join us in Byron Bay, and we got to have this like really beautiful time together. This time in Byron Bay was sort of spontaneous, and she took the opportunity when we invited her, and it gave us the time to really sink in. While we explored Byron Bay, which we'll be working on for a group trip next year, next spring. Okay, I shouldn't say spring because that's not spring for you, it's fall. Next February, March, around there. We explored so many beautiful things, and we thought we want to do this with other people. And then we started talking about, okay, where are we going to do this? And it just seemed like a natural for both of us to help other people understand grieving and joy and rebirth and, feeling this vibrance of coming back to ourselves. It's like we need to remember our past so that we can sit in this moment so that we can move forwards. I want to talk to you, Leah, because you have held space for people who've been unraveling in this kind of a mourning. And maybe you want to even talk just a dot about how you felt that way too. I know I felt that way when my grandmothers passed, because they were in my heart so much. So what do you feel about, I'm going to shift that question a little bit, because I feel like you and I have talked about this a lot, about grief and about how we can get stuck in that. I'm going to go back to that for just a second. And a lot of our conversation about this trip was me like kind of sharing how it gives us our love back. It gives us our connection back that allows us to feel joy again and to sort of let go of some of that longing. Um, what do you think? What do you feel about that?
I totally agree because I don't think we do grief very well in Australia. Like we focus on the sadness, but one of the biggest things, as I mentioned, I teach a program called the Grief Recovery Method, and it's an American program. And we find that when life doesn't ever become normal again. Like we just create a new
Mhm.
normal. Like we start to build a life around what was. But there are moments that we catch ourselves and we go, oh, I shouldn't be feeling happy, or I shouldn't be feeling joy, or I
Right.
shouldn't be laughing, I should be sad, or then if we're lying in the fetal position crying for a day, then we go, we shouldn't be doing this. So we are full of all the shoulds. I know that for me, I made very specific rules. I made sure that if I wanted to lie on my bed and cry and be in the fetal position after I dropped my kids to school, I did it and I didn't care. But I got up and showed up when they got home, and I got up and showed up the next day and didn't create a pattern from that. And that was something that stood me in good stead. Unfortunately, I had a lot of compounded grief because probably a year and a half after my mum died, my marriage broke down, and at the same time, my nana was diagnosed with Alzheimer's. Then she passed. And then I got the diagnosis for the breast cancer. So there was like about 4 to 5 years of just one thing after the other after the other. And each of those separate journeys taught me different lessons. It created a strength that I never knew I had. It created resilience. It created a bond with my children that is beyond amazing, but it's also empowered them to tap into that and realize that, something will go pear-shaped and they don't just lose it and, turn to drink or drugs or whatever. They have the skills to be able to move through it. I think that grief is something that people say time heals. That's rubbish. It doesn't. Action does. And as you and I know, we've done a hell of a lot of work on ourselves to be able to move through the grief. And everyone thinks that grief is just the loss of a loved one. It's not. It's a loss of your marriage or a relationship, a loss of yourself, a loss of wealth, a loss of health, a loss of a family that you treated like your own for 15 years, a loss of all of these different aspects that are not linear, and they are not that we've lost a loved one. It's not just that. It can be anything. So I think that teaches me that there are so many different aspects of grief that we will go through and experience. And even when you do the work, does it mean that you're immune? No, there's always going to be something that is going to pop up. With our love of the ocean, as you have too, I often joke and say grief turned me into a professional surfer. One day I'm riding that wave and I'm high. The next minute I've been pushed off that wave and I'm under the surface and I feel like I'm tumbling out of control. And then the next minute I'm swimming back to the surface, and then I get to the calm, and then I take a breath, and then the cycle might start again, or it might not. I don't know. But when we work on ourselves, the ebbs and flows aren't like this. They become like this. And that is the biggest thing that we need to work on within ourselves, is how do we regulate those emotions and still honor the part that that grief has played in our world and shaping us as a person.
I completely agree with this. We have those moments, and then there's a part of me that pulls myself back up by honoring the beauty that those people brought to my life and paying that forward. It's just one of those ways to remember that we have these gorgeous people in our lives. They touch our hearts so deeply. They give us so many gifts, this generational wisdom. They impart on us this unconditional love, this inspiration of how to be and what to live for, all those gifts. And in that, for me, it's always been like, through the sadness, it's how can I honor that person's, all those good things they gave to me, all those juicy things. I talk about this all the time. Like my grandmother, she was so special to me and she was so wonderful with our family. She always wanted to see her tribe. So like, I'm trying to always keep our family together in her honor. And she loved to be she loved to be in the garden. So I'm always like kind of cultivating that. So we're having little, again, technical difficulties, and we're asking the heavens to help us out a little bit.
Right?
With the tech, like really weird.
And it was when you mentioned pansy, it was like it cut out. And
I
I'm like, come
know.
on, give us strength. Do it.
Leah was like, Pansy, come on, girl. But I don't know. She probably wants to be in this interview. Like,
I
like if
think
she
so.
drops down right here behind me, I won't be surprised. But I mean, back to why we even created this, why we were so drawn to it, why we're so drawn to each other. We have all of these synchronicities in our lives. And the biggest one is that we so much love service, and we so much love travel, and we so much love our sisterhood. Leah and Lisa in Australia have the most extensive, gorgeous group of women in their town, Cronulla. I mean, when I go there, I can't believe it. It's absolutely stunning. We have another girlfriend, Mia, who she does like a giant fundraiser, and I'll just never forget landing and going straight to the fundraiser off the plane, putting on my dress and being like, I am in a room of 100 or more unreal women
There's probably
that live all in
200.
the same town. Oh, it's
Mm,
epic. So anyways, it's really all these friendships have really inspired us to help you transform, to bring more authenticity, right? To
mm,
experience something different outside of your normal everyday world, because we do things in our own town and we have meaningful moments, but there's nothing like actually teleporting into another place and just feeling the energy of that culture and what there is
yeah,
to offer, and also just being away from all the junk, right? Away from everybody.
yeah.
So, um what are you most excited to co-lead at this retreat or to experience at this retreat?
Swimming with the dolphins is like,
Of
that's one of
course.
the parts that I'm looking at embodying that for myself. Like, because my mum would always say to me, if you were coming back as an animal, what would it be? And I would go, a
Yeah.
dolphin. So
Yeah.
that for me is, and I think I look at the dolphins as playfulness, fun, adventure, cheeky, like really reigniting that side or that part of ourselves that as women we sometimes squash down because the normality and the realness of life gets in the way, and we need to really remember how to play, remember how to have that fun and enjoy ourselves rather than get stuck in the shoulds and the woulds and the coulds. So that for
Totally.
me is part that
To-
I'm looking forward to. And the other part would be, you and I as ex-dancers, just to be on a beach dancing freely or dancing under the full moon, or just there are so many aspects because yes, as we mentioned in our short interview, we will have yoga because that is an integral part of us and our teachings, but it will be the women's circles, it will be the meditations, it'll be the sound healing, it'll be the swimming with the dolphins, all of those things that will be so amazing.
Yeah, I completely agree. So I have had the pleasure of swimming with the dolphins where we're going, because I have been to where we're going many, 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 many times. So like I have so much love around. I love Mexico everywhere I go in Mexico, but I actually have timeshare here and I've been going for 25 years. I've gone many times by myself. So I've had grand adventures and I've also taken friends. So what I'm really excited about is taking other people and showing
Mm.
this culture off to you. But of course, like Leah said, I mean, I feel like I was definitely a mermaid in a past life. I know a lot of the people that are drawn to me and drawn to Leah feel the same. Of course, my favorite animal is also a dolphin. I had a friend who was a dolphin trainer when I was a little girl at Marine Land in California, and she would
Wow.
take us behind the scenes. And my grandma used to tell the story of how when she'd take me to Marine Land, I would cry when I had to leave the dolphin tank, like literally cry and be one of those crazy kids. But I I think that part is an exceptional experience that is something that's so divine. I agree with getting back to our femininity. The water is so feminine
Mm,
and it's getting back to our sensuality and just feeling that for ourselves, not for somebody else, but just feeling back
mm.
into that feminine. We're in that age of Aquarius. So the water is calling. And also those in between times. I mean, we'll have a sunset sail, which will be amazing. It is a full moon, so that will be wonderful. There's going to be a lot of downtime for just that girl talk, that co-creation that happens when you're just sort of relaxed and your creative side begins to emerge. All kinds of collaborations and ideas get brewed up when you're in places like this. So I'm really excited about all of it. Of course, I'm excited about Day of the Dead. There's a parade. People put makeup, like they paint their faces. They wear these beautiful colors. The guys come out on their horses. I mean, it's a whole thing. The food, like the food's fantastic. So all of those things. I mean, Leah, I think right now I'm going to rapid fire you some questions. And we're going to just title this little piece of the show Sacred and Silly, because I think those two
Yeah.
things go together really well. We were talking about the Dalai Lama, about how silly the Dalai Lama is, and how the highest spiritual people I've ever come in contact with always have a lot of silly going on
Hmm.
in their energy. I think
Hmm.
they know not to be serious, right? Not to take life serious. So this is the sacred and the silly rapid fire questions. Just answer them, whatever comes to mind first. So, what's one thing you always pack? Always.
Hair dryer.
How about
Or my
that? Guess what?
journal.
They're gonna
Or my journal.
okay. There's a more aligned answer. The truth comes out, the journal. But
No,
the
the
hair
truth came out
dryer,
first.
the truth came out first, exactly. And then, but there are going to be hair dryers there. So you don't have to bring your hair dryer. And guess what? Your Australian plug is not going to work in the plug anyway. So just use the hair dryer that's at the resort. Okay. So
Darling.
just bring your journal and it's nice and flat. All right. What's the weirdest place you've ever danced?
In the cemetery with you, the day we had that
Ah,
dancing
yeah.
adventure.
I love that.
And
Oh
the
my God.
kookaburra was laughing at us, and a butterfly ran around our heads, and it was like it just glittered around. So
I
that was
love it.
awesome. Love that.
There may be a possibility of dancing in a cemetery this time as
Could
well,
work.
because it's all
Yeah.
about the celebration, right? So, all right. What song brings you back to life? What's your I call it the party song. What's your party song?
My party song actually is Sorry Not Sorry. It's a song that I realized when running my last retreat. As women, we apologize so much. And it was something that I love this song, but my partner also said to me, he goes, sorry, not sorry, negate it. And it was just a real turning moment. You don't realize how much we apologize,
Mhm.
especially even when there's nothing to apologize for. So,
Yeah.
yeah, Demi Lovato, Sorry Not Sorry. Go and listen to it.
Love it. Love it.
Yeah.
Mine is You Shook Me All Night Long by AC/DC. I'm sorry. That's my party song. It's not spiritual in any way.
Ah,
It's like nasty and sexy. And if I'm going out to dance and they put that on, that gets my night going. Okay, that's like a little
but
sidebar.
we
Um,
don't have to do spiritual because we actually, this is one of the things with the retreat. We yin and yang. We're not all woo woo.
no,
Like
it's not
we
all.
actually have beautiful blends of light and dark.
Yeah. The thing is back to it, it's like all about the authenticity, right? It's all
Yeah.
about just being truly who you are in the moment and finding a tribe of other women and friends that feel like I was saying about Leah, that feel like home, that allow you to be more you. I think that's so important. I mean,
Yeah.
it's important in our partnerships as well, but I think it's more impactful when it's women together. So, okay, let's see. Do I have one more for you? Do you have any sacred rituals while you're on the road?
Yeah, actually, just getting myself into an attitude of gratitude each morning. It's so easy to focus on what's not going right in our lives, but to take just 2 minutes and think of three things. And I'm not just saying my family, my friends, my home, no, dig deeper. Like it could be, I'm grateful to Lise that she introduced you and I, and look at where this friendship has gone, and we just hold her so dearly. Or it could be so many different aspects of our world, but yeah, that's a really important thing to me because so often we focus on what's not going good.
Yeah, I love that because gratitude's everything. It is. It's
Mm,
truly everything. And especially having traveled so much and being a flight attendant, so professionally traveling, but having
yeah.
traveled for fun before that, I mean, you do have to hold a lot of levels of gratitude and appreciation and awareness because there's so many things that are different culturally. There's so many things that go sideways. We carry so many expectations of how things
Yes.
are going to be. And then, I mean, travel is the best way to be like, you thought it was going to be like that? Guess what? We have a different lesson for you. We have a different opportunity for you. We have a different, you're lost in the woods and now you got to figure it out. I always say, I think I said this on my last podcast, it's like wherever you are, you are. Sometimes you have to get
Yeah.
like really lost to be found. And so there's like going to be a lot of, emergent. Like, I feel like one of my sacred rituals, I don't know if it's necessarily a ritual, but I continually remind myself that it's important to just be in the flow, to not have too much of a plan, to have enough of a plan so you're not
Mm,
stuck somewhere, but to leave enough space to meet people, to be invited to someone's home for dinner, to get on the back of a motorcycle if you feel it's safe. Whatever it is, I feel like leaving that space to allow things to be emergent. Okay. And I kind of gave this one away, but I think you have another answer for this. So I'm going to ask it. What's your dream destination for your next soul filled retreat?
Machu Picchu.
Yes, this is Leah's dream. This is her bucket list. At the very top of her bucket list is Machu Picchu, and we're gonna make this happen for sure.
So get
So
ready.
yeah, so we talked about Byron Bay next spring, but we are definitely looking at Machu Picchu. I've been to Machu Picchu. I'm not going to get into the full depth of it, but what I will say about it is it absolutely changed my life. It absolutely made me see the world differently. I had so many juicy, meaningful, deep moments there. And that trip for me happened right after a breakup. I have a partner right now. Guess what? If you haven't caught the story, we were together another time in our life. And this was after the first breakup. There's no second breakup. We're together. So this was after the first breakup. And I was in Machu Picchu and I needed to heal. I needed to let some things go. There was a part of my heart that needed to go into a place of acceptance and surrender. And I found all of that there. And I didn't know I was going on that trip. I did not plan that trip. I had a girlfriend that I had done dance with, and she actually called me about 10 days before the trip and said, "There is one spot left on this trip. And everything in me says it's you, that you're going with me." And she lived in a different town. We didn't see each other often. We had done a dance training together. And I was like, okay, you're right. It's me. I'm going. And I just sent the money in, the full amount, and I went. And it was 10 days of dancing and traveling and being with shamans and hiking. And it was the sound healing at the base of Machu Picchu. It was everything. And so that trip is going to happen. And I hope you guys want to come on that one too, because that is going to be super epic. We're going to make these bucket list dreams come true. If you have a dream out there, listener, of a place that you'd like us to take you, please send us a note, send me a DM, go over to our website, social media. I don't know. You know where to find us. It's all in the show notes. So that is the end of the sacred and the silly rapid fire questions. Wonderful answers. Loved it. I'm going to ask you a few more questions that aren't as silly. What are you personally letting go of or calling in on our trip to La Vida Sagrada?
Again, I feel like what I'm releasing is attachment. And in yoga, we call it a parigraha, which is practicing non-attachment to allow everyone to be free to experience the journey that they need to go on and to be able to live their best lives. And so there's a few aspects of my world at the moment where I am really heavily practicing that part of yoga and trying to embody it in order to realize that if whatever is meant for me will not pass me by, it will not come back. It will not be part of my life. Yeah, when we hold on so tight to things, sometimes that's when it becomes stifled and strangled, and we need to just allow. And you and I could actually have really attached today. We've had nothing but dramas with the 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 podcast, but you know what? We surrendered to it, Lise, and we just went, this is going to be what it's going to be. And by doing that, we weren't attached to the outcome. We weren't sitting there going, oh my God, we've scheduled this time. Life doesn't go like that. So we need to allow ourselves to not attach to the little things that are really not important. So that's what
Yeah.
I'm going to be focusing on when we go.
That is such a beautiful and really, it's like, at first, I just want to acknowledge what a beautiful answer that is, and what a honest and vulnerable and yeah, beautiful share. I feel like we all work with attachment all the time, right? It's
Mm.
letting go, and it's letting go for ourselves, and it's letting go for others as well. I mean, I just told that story of how Tom and I are together again. And I
Mm.
mean, when I was in Machu Picchu, I had to tell myself to let that go. That wasn't for
Yeah.
me right now. I never in 100,000 million lifetimes would have ever thought that I would end up with him again. And well, anyway, like 16 years later or
But
something
uh,
like that,
but
here we are.
but as we know, as we are very much aware that sometimes we have a tower moment and things fall apart to fall into place. And maybe that timing
Completely.
wasn't right for you, but now it has fallen into place and you are exactly where you are meant to be. And it's changed. So, like we can
Yeah.
hold on to something so tight that it doesn't work.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
definitely, like you said, with the surrendering, just the letting it go. We both had different lessons that we weren't going to agree to do together. So
Hmm.
he went and did his thing, and I went and did mine. And a lot of mine was about travel, and a lot of mine was about service, and a lot of mine was about teaching and growing and healing my own wounds. So let's see. I will answer that question since you asked. What
Hmm.
am I personally letting
Please
go
do.
of or calling in? I am calling in this being my whole entire future. Like, all I want to do is work with people and be all about transformation and inspiring people and empowering people. So I'm really calling in that this experience is the launch pad. Everyone that listens knows that flight attending will be done for me for 2026. And I'm just stepping into everything that feels so good and beautiful. So I'm just calling in that this experience is great for all of you. For Leah and I, we're loving this partnership. Partnerships are
Yeah.
hard too. So all the
Yeah.
partnerships in the world. So I'm just calling in that this is continues to be heartwarming and uplifting and exciting for both of us. And that we can just spend our entire lives like having fun,
Traveling the
being on
world.
vacation. Exactly. And taking you all with us. So
Yeah.
I love this. If our dads were watching us now, what do you think
Yeah.
they'd have to say about it?
Well, because I was only two, I
Or
don't
your
really
mom. I
know
mean,
my
your
dad.
mom. Yeah,
No,
your
but
mom,
but
your
I
mom.
feel like it's more pertinent to Dad because everyone says he was someone that was really cheeky and just loved life, and he was a bit of a scallywag, and so for me, he'd be going like I could imagine him going, "You go, kiddo, you go, just go and live your best life," and death teaches us that live your best life, live it every day to the fullest.
Yeah.
So, I
Yeah.
think our dads would be smiling at us and going, wow, you guys created something so beautiful out of something that we really could have focused on as being tragic. And I don't know if I speak for you too, Lise, but I think I've had people say to me, well, you didn't know your dad, so why do you grieve him? But it was always grieving could have been, or what should have been,
Hmm.
or the role that he would have played, or the things we would have experienced together. So by doing this traveling, I feel like this is my opportunity to go, come along for the ride with me. Come and show me, come and be there, come and hold my hand, give me a
Yeah.
sign, whatever needs
Yeah.
to happen. But, we don't focus on that. We focus on the experience and being in the now. But I know that they would just be smiling up on that cloud, just going, good girls, you got this, you could do this. So, how do you feel, your dad?
I feel like a little part of me feels like they conspired somewhere on the other
Yeah, I
side,
agree.
or you and I had a soul
Mm,
contract that conspired. Um, but I know for sure my dad is so thrilled about me finding my way back to Australia.
mm,
I always call it my soul's home, right? And
yeah.
I know that he is so thrilled about me figuring that out. And I know someday I'll live there. There's no doubt in my heart.
Mm.
But I know he would love this moment. If he's watching, he's loving listening to your accent. He's loving when I'm over there with you guys. I
Yeah,
always feel like he's with me there. It
yeah.
was very late in life when I wrote the men we meet, which was 10 years ago now. But when I was writing that book, I wanted to know a little bit more about my dad. I talked with my mom doesn't really like to talk about it a lot, but I talked with a friend of the family who used to spend a lot of time with us. And she told me, you and your dad, you used to like go off on these little walks in the forest when we camp, and you'd be like whispering to each other, and you'd have all these secrets. And so at one point,
Wow.
again, like very late in life, I was saying to my mom something about how much I loved Australia and how much I loved being there, and I felt like that was my home.
Mm,
And she said, well, your dad, that's all he wanted to do was move to Australia. That's all he talked about. He even had the paperwork. We didn't have the money, but he talked about it incessantly. He was a surfer. So, of course, it's like, every
Yeah.
surfer's dream. But it was then that I realized my early days was him telling his dreams to me about Australia, and probably talking about the
Wow.
waves and the beach and the beautiful people and how good it would feel, and really painting this picture. I don't know why he never went, so he didn't know, but he probably looked at a lot of surfing magazines or something, and watched a lot of surf movies. And I feel like he laid that foundation for me to later remember that that's really where my soul would be happiest. So I think he's super happy. He's super ecstatic about it. I think I'm going to skip the next. I have another question, but I'm just going to skip it. I don't feel like we need it. I feel like that's a
No.
great place to just be with our dads hanging out. Your mom's probably here, our grandmas, all the ancestors are like getting ready for this trip. I'm just telling you, all of our ancestors are getting ready for this trip. They're all meeting us in Mexico. I mean, we're not going to see ghosts. Right? Well, maybe we will. I don't know.
No.
All right. So we did already talk about some of these amazing things that are going to happen at this La Vida Sagrada that is happening October 31st through November 6th. It's happening in Nuevo Vallarta, Mexico. That's, you just fly into Puerto Vallarta. And we're going to just one more time talk about how there's going to be some yoga, there's going to be some beach rituals, there's going to be spontaneous dance parties. We're going to work through some of that loss. We're going to build altars. We're going to give our ancestors the opportunity to come to us. You can call in whoever you want to call in. We'll kind of walk you through that, of what that means. Of course, we're going to be by the ocean. So we're going to be doing that. We're going to be sailing under that full moon off into the
Yeah.
sunset. And of course, what's the thing that you really are looking forward to, Leah?
Dancing in the cemetery.
And with the dolphins, both of
And
those
singing
things,
with
but
the
dancing in the
dolphins. Yes.
cemetery, I'm
Dancing in the
like so
cemetery and singing with
excited
the
about it.
dolphins. Yes. Yeah.
Exactly.
And
So we just go ahead.
I think that I'm really looking forward to, I don't know how the people who are joining us would feel, but sometimes I know when I've gone and done retreats, I've had the most amazing time and been immersed in it, but I've come home and I felt like I need a holiday. I need to feel like, oh my gosh, and just to recharge the batteries because the days have been so long. We're very mindful that we're going to immerse you in the culture and we're going to have these amazing experiences and it's going to be jam packed, but there also needs to be some downtime to actually just allow yourself to process what comes to the surface and to be able to enjoy that too. So, and people will have an option to stay on for a few more days if they choose to. They can quite easily stay on. So there's so many beautiful aspects of this retreat. I'm so excited. Can't wait.
Yeah, we're going to have so much, like Leah said, there's going to be a lot of downtime. The beach is right there. We're on the beach, obviously. So we're going to be swimming. We're going to be laying under palapas. If you need to, you can have your margarita, whatever it is. It's going to be absolutely amazing. This isn't just a vacation, it's a soul invitation. And we are so happy from our souls to yours to invite you to this. As Leah said, you're going to return to yourself and you're going to feel amazing after this. You're going to feel recharged. You're going to feel inspired. And likely you're going to have like some new sense of your purpose and your passion and what you want to go for. So, Leah, I have this question for you. If you had to guess, what do you think was in our soul contract when we met? Why do you think we're here together at this moment in time?
I would say to flip the switch on death and dying, to actually realize that we could create something so magical and powerful out of a really challenging situation. And we do each day. That's why we gel. That's why this has come to fruition, because our positivity and the way that we've allowed our experiences to refine us, not define us, have been two of the biggest things that we step into our life every single day. We get up and we show up and we choose to have a certain outlook on life rather than going into that victim mentality and allowing it to bring us down. We use it to empower us. So I think that's a big thing for me, is that, just realizing it is what was, but it's not what will be. We can create whatever we put our minds to. Yeah. So how about you?
Yeah, I definitely feel like some of our soul contract, and I feel like it's even coming through this call, is that we've kind of lived all those things, and we've also lived other lives, right? Like we've been taken off track, and we've done corporate, and we've worked for other
Mm,
people. And we've, earlier you touched on it, on we have I don't really know what the right word is for it, is like we've settled for things. We've said, oh, like I
mm,
know I got married really young. He's an amazing guy. I've talked about him. He has his whole own episode because he's so great. But that kind of was off my path, right? Because I was living from a story that was like, I need to be really independent. I need to let no one hurt me ever again. I need to be really
mm.
successful this way. I need to have my own money. I need to kind of put a boundary up between me and my partners, that sort of thing. That kind of created a story. But I feel like both of us, we're just so ready. We're so ready to get back to remembering who we are,
Yeah,
what our truth is, why we're here, what feels good, and what really lights us up. And we both
yeah.
are people of service. So we have to do that in a way that helps others do the same. I feel like a
Hmm.
lot of our soul contract was to find each other, spend a lot of years going, weaving in and out of a lot of stuff until the moment was really right for both of us to just step into our truth. And what we are looking for, I mean, my whole business, Sip Tea with Me, Breath of Freedom, everything that I do is about helping other people find their greatest authenticity, right? So I've mentioned that a few times,
Yeah.
and it's not the easiest thing to do because we do have a lot of things over our, and so it's just in
Mm,
these places that are safe and fun, we can let go of all of those things. We kind of sort of test the waters and see what comes up for us, and then really sink into, what do I want to build from there? All of that said, I just want to say to everyone, let it flow, let the goodness come. Let's let our hearts burst open. Let's just really embrace this. And I want to say thank you so much to Leah for being my partner in crime. I think a lot of times when we try to do something on our
anytime.
own, we don't. I think when we try to do things on our own, we can't stick with it, or we get in our heads, or we have some imposter syndrome. I don't know. That's a very current thing to say. But I feel
Mm,
like when we have a partner in crime that can lift us up when a day is hard, the other person says, come on, let's keep going. This partnership, this collaboration is really different. Leah, because of her losses, has had to be a very independent person. The same thing for me. But in this independence, we've begun to see what partnership can do, what collaboration can do, what being with other great women can do. So I just want to thank Leah from the bottom of my heart. Such a deep love. Yeah, we want to thank our girlfriend Lisa, who made it all happen. And I just want to invite you listeners to DM or message us to chat about the retreat. Like I said before, both of us, you probably know how to find us. If not, it'll be in the show notes. You can click in the show notes. Also, just click directly to the link for La Vida Sagrada to sign up. You can also always go to my website and get the free journal for transformation and self discovery. I would love it if you follow, subscribe, and share this episode with somebody that you love, who needs to hear it, who wants to go on a trip with you, who bugs you all the time, who wants to get on that plane, head to Mexico, swim with the dolphins, and just totally bliss out. This sacred opportunity is waiting for you. Your sisters are calling you home, and the magic begins with just one yes. Thanks so much for listening. I appreciate you all so much. Be sure to tune in next week on episode 22. We are going to be kicking off Sovereignty Summer. And it's going to be a little series all about how to become more sovereign with yourself, with your bad self. So, Leah, thank you for
I
being with
love it.
me. And
Thank you for
please
having
reach
me,
out.
darling.
Mwah.
Mwah.
XOXO.
Uh, love you so much. And so excited, so pumped.